Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning.
This time I'd like to call the Nash County Board of Commissioners meeting for May the 1st to order. It is customary for our board to begin each one of our meetings with a prayer and a pledge of allegiance to the flag. During this prayer, you're welcome to stand and join us in the prayer. You're welcome to use the prayer for your own prayer, or you're welcome to use it for a moment of silence, whichever you have on your mind this morning. At this time, I'll call on Commissioner Gwen Wilkins for the invocation, and after that, Wayne Outlaw for the pledge of allegiance. Commissioner Wilkins.
Let us pray. Dear God, you commanded us to be strong and courageous. Please give us inner peace as we fight the good fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. Guide us through the trials and tribulations, and bestow upon this board truth and understanding, for you are the one that orchestrates every day of our lives. Our trust is in you alone. May God bless Nash County. Let everyone say amen.
Amen. Amen.
Would you join us in the pledge? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioners. We're now on item number 4, which is approval of the minutes. We had 2 meetings in April the 3rd and April the 17th. We did approve the April 3rd meeting minutes at our April 17th meeting, so therefore we just have a special call meeting for April 17th to approve at this time. Entertain a motion for approval, corrections, or any additions.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion to approve, a second. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. Motion carries.
Mike.
Who's?
Okay, do I need to start over? Okay, thank you. Loud enough to not have to start over, that's good.
Yeah, you're good.
All right, we'll move on. First of all, we have one item that was brought to us that we need to add to the agenda, or we were requested to. It was at your table. It is another grant project ordinance, and if no one has any objections, I'd like to add that as item number 17A. Any objections to that is economic development matter? Seeing none, we'll add that to 17A. Ladies and gentlemen, we're now at item number 5, which is our public comment section of our agenda. Each month during the first meeting of the month, the Board of Commissioners open up the floor, and anyone that wishes to speak to the board about any matter that's otherwise not on the agenda is welcome to come forward. We do ask if it's on the agenda or a public hearing that you wait for that to come before you come up. And we do have a sign-up period out front before the meeting, and I had 2 people sign up this morning. I'll call on those first, and then if someone missed a sign-up time or didn't realize you needed to sign up and are here to speak to the board, we'll be glad to hear from you also. First speaker that signed up was Natalie Brooks, and if you would come forward, Ms. Brooks, and state your name and address for the record, we'd appreciate it. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am Natalie Brooks. My address is 4106 Womble Road, Nashville, and I relish and appreciate this opportunity to speak to the board. Good morning, Chairman Davis, Vice Chair Outlaw, and the remaining Nash County Commissioners. I am Natalie Brooks, a retired educator and a grandparent of a child currently enrolled in Nash County Public Schools. I am also a Nash County resident concerned about the school board redistricting. I want to speak to you for a little bit about the potential redistricting of the Nash County School Board upon the demerger of the Edgecombe students from Nash Rocky Mount School System. We are concerned about this local bill, SB Senate Bill 248, entitled Change Number of Members on Nash County Board of Ed, filed by Senators Lisa Barnes and Buck Newton, that repeals the authority of both county schools and boards to redistrict themselves upon the demerger from the Nash system, and that forces upon Nash County that the school board districts shall forever and permanently mirror the Nash County Commissioners' districts. The 2016 demerger bill, Session Law 2016-14, pushed by the Nash County Commissioners, provided in Section 7-3 that each school board would have the authority to handle its own redistricting. SB 248 changes the number of members on the Nash County Board of Education and repeals that authority entirely. Also, and it removes the authority of the Edgecombe School Board to handle its own redistricting as well. I am here to ask you, the Nash County Commissioners, to pass a resolution to oppose this legislation for the following reasons. It is harmful for the legislatures to override, supersede, and repeal the authority of our duly elected school board to represent us in this most critical time with this most critical decision affecting our rights to vote without any input from the communities most negatively affected by this demerger. Our school board is in the best position to make this redistricting decision. Where we can appeal to our school board members right here in our communities with members from across our community of interest, and where we can speak to out at school board meetings, where we can hold information sessions and public hearings in our community prior to making a final decision. We have no relationship in our communities with these local legislatures and would have to go to Raleigh to appeal to all of the legislators to even have a hope of impacting this local bill. And you know our chances would be very low, if any at all. I oppose a 7-member school board because it will not be effective for children, parents, and the community. The commissioner districts are too large to provide the level of community representation, familiarity, contact, and access to information and decision-making that is important for effectively addressing school board issues, impacting learning for children, families, students with special needs, teachers, administrators, school employees, and the unique local school and federal mandates. In addition, the school system is one of the largest employers in this county. Running from a county commissioner district will be too expensive and too large for most average persons who would want to and be qualified to serve on the school board. And the commissioner districts will make the races more politically and partisan and out of reach for the average person qualified to serve. Many of us oppose this 7-member county commissioner district plan for the school board because it triple bunks 3 Black school board members in the county commissioner districts of Commissioner Gwen Wilkins, and double bunks at least 6 other current school board members in 3 other districts at a time of undesired transition for many when more stability can be critical. In addition, please remember that the adoption of your county commissioner district was with opposition both to the process and the content. There was objection to the unfairness of packing one district with 72% Black voters in order to keep an adjoining district at 30% Black voters instead of 40%, and then keeping the other Black districts at barely 50%. There was also strong opposition to the lack of opportunity for real community input and access to information in the redistricting process, which you are repeating with this legislature bill. This demerger process is going to be very traumatic, and our communities, our communities because we are opposed to this demerger push from 2016. In addition, people will lose jobs. Students will have to change schools, will lose relationships, and students and teachers lose members of their athletic teams and other activities, and maybe lose school programs along with other losses we can't even foresee at this time. It will be a double burden and extremely heavy-handed at a very painful time. And for you to then force upon the community this 7-member school board plan without any community input whatsoever, this bill is unnecessarily rubbing salt in the age-old wounds of unfairness and mistreatment. In this time in which there is so much talk about parental rights, it would be surely more parent-friendly for this decision to be made by the school board, where all parents and our community members who are interested, including business leaders and county commissioners, could participate, share information on the impact of various plans that, for example, many people in the community would like to have consideration of a 9-member school board in which more communities could be represented without changing any proportionality among different groups. Excuse me. Going from 11 to 9 would not be as a drastic loss of representation and access to information as going to a 7-member board. It would be smart, prudent, if you will, of us to have an open, public process to consider and examine all of the best plans that can be put forth, rather than forcing all of us this 7-member plan that was wanted by just a few. I humbly urge you to please pass a resolution opposing SB 248 and allowing the Nash County School Board to exercise their authority, their autonomy to redistrict themselves upon the demerger of the school systems in a manner that will allow all of us to participate and have input in the decision and have access to information that will allow parents, families, commissioners, and the community to understand the impact of this decision and to plan on all of us and our respective interests. Your power to have your legislators to act in your interest will always be there and does not have to be used to supersede the school board or our opportunity of the opportunity of the community to be heard and participate in this decision-making process at this time. Please act in fairness and transparency and in respect of the voting rights of parents and communities to participate in this redistricting. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your attention, and hopefully this action you will take upon this request. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks. The next sign-up that I had is a Catherine McKeithen, and I hope I got that right.
Yes, you did.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning. I'm Catherine McKeithen. I reside at 415 Center Street in Rocky Mount. And I'm here today as a Nash County resident to express my concern about Senate Bill 248 entitled Change Number of Members on Nash County School Board of Education, filed by Senators Lisa Barnes and Buck Newton. The bill is tantamount to a preemptive measure that will bypass input from our community and our school board with respect to redistricting. That is, after the anticipated demerger of the boards of education of Nash and Edgecombe counties. This bill will provide for the election of 7 members to the Nash County Board of Education and to align the districts of the Nash Board of Education members with the districts of the Nash County Commissioners. Passing this bill will permanently repeal the authority of the school board to redistrict itself. It is the local school board, however, that has best knowledge of the community's resources and needs. The school board represents the community's voice in public education, for it is the school board that is closest to students and parents. By taking away the school board's authority to redistrict itself, Senate Bill 248 essentially takes away the voices of parents at a time when across the nation, parents are fighting for increased participation in their children's education. If there are compelling reasons to reduce the number of school board members after the demerger of the National Edgecombe School Boards, our school board should be the source of that recommendation. And if for some reason having fewer school board members is deemed to be advantageous to our school system, there are no compelling arguments for why that number should be 7, or if it were 7, that the school board districts should mirror the county's commissioner districts. On the contrary, the previous speaker detailed reasons that having a larger districts may in fact be disadvantageous to our school system. I started by saying that I'm here to express my concern about Senate Bill 248, and I will close by saying that I'm also here today to ask you to express concern about that bill. As I was researching the bill, I found the following statement in the introduction to a survey conducted by the Edgecombe County School Board. It reads, "We are also committed to doing our work in an equitable way, ensuring that no voices are left out or minimized." Okay? I implore you, our Nash County Commissioners, to do your work in an equitable way. I beg you to ensure that with respect to Senate Bill 248, no voices are left out or minimized. Please pass a resolution opposing Senate Bill 248 and allowing the Nash County School Board to exercise their authority to redistrict upon demerger in a manner that would allow us all to participate and have input in that decision, and have access to information that will allow parents, families, commissioners, and community to understand the impact of the decision and the plan on all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else wish to speak under public comment this morning? Good morning, Mr. Williams.
Good morning. I do apologize for missing the timeline to sign up. I was at my real job this morning. I couldn't quite make it there for those who might be watching. But anyway, I wanted to speak with the county commission. Had an awesome opportunity to attend the retreat in a nice new building there in the Dorchester community, and heard the conversation that was shared by many of you all. Thanks for having the opportunity for the citizens to participate in your decision-making process, especially when you're dealing with tax rates, budgets, and things of that nature that will impact us for the upcoming year. I, too, as I spoke on the television show in regards to Senate Bill 248, we do understand that the legislators will do what they do. But I do think that the actions this local bill is talking about could really set a precedence to what the General Assembly could do with county commissioners, as well as taking away your authority when it comes to a duly elected board having the autonomy to redistrict itself. Just Friday, the North Carolina Supreme Court just said that the state of North Carolina can redo their maps, no matter what partisan or this, that, and the third. And so that this body, well, not this body, but the General Assembly, sued to have that right for self-governance. And so I hope that every single commissioner that's here, even across the state, because one thing that happens in Nash County could also happen in other counties. We do know this bill is just pertaining to Nash County School Board and not having any impact on other school boards at this time, but it could set a precedence that boards could mirror the county commissioners. Not saying that when you drew your boards, they want fair maps. Obviously, those districts were fair and everybody voted on those particular maps. And I believe you should give the same right to another elected body. That is important. Whether it be 7 members or 9 members, we understand the drastic move. They also understand this may be a placeholder bill, giving an opportunity for some things to set in place so there can be some discussion. So I hope that people will call on members of this General Assembly, perhaps to Lisa Barnes and Buck Newton and others, really Alan Chess and all of them, to really have some conversation in the community about this particular piece of legislation. Including tonight, I'll be going to the Nash County School Board, because while we're talking about the unbuckling of or demerger of our school system, Nash County School Board has not had any public meetings about what that really will look like, right? Edgecombe County has. Edgecombe County is a trigger for it, but it will have some impacts financially on Nash County. What would it look like? What type of additional dollars will they be coming to the commissioners asking for per pupil allocation and expenses, and that is something you really got to take into consideration, and the people need to know about that as well to best prepare for potentially 2024. But as always, we thank you for doing all the work that you do. Oftentimes it goes unappreciated, the robust conversation, maybe disagreements, but ultimately coming down to a vote at the end of the day on how we move Nash County and the greater community forward. So again, we thank you. We also urge you to support members of the community in asking for the General Assembly to really have some public conversation about Senate Bill 248.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Did he get his address? Did he give you that? Okay. Anyone else wish to speak? Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Davis, Mr. Outlaw, and the rest of the county commissioners. My name is Robert Cordell, as you well may know, and I stay at 3300 Brookview Drive right here in Rocky Mount. I would just like to just take a minute to just speak on Senate Bill 248. I'm hearing a whole lot of things out there in the community, and clarity is always the thing that people like to talk about to understand what's going on. Everyone knows about the demerger, and it's about the long-range goal. I think it's about power, and it's about control. But also, it should be about fairness. Once the merger takes place, of course, District 11 and District 10 on school board will automatically be dissolved because they are on the Edgecombe side. But when you hear about District 9 and another district, there are 2 predominantly black districts that are going to be merged together, of course, you know that will produce only 1 black school board member. And all the 11 districts on this school board, those representatives were elected by the citizens and their constituents. And that needs to be understood. So please, if you would, allow the school board to do their redistricting. If they go along with your suggestion, then fine, if they want that. And I know that you will continue to do your responsibility in funding the school system that you've always done for many, many years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cordell.
All right.
Does anyone else wishes to speak at this time? Seeing no movement, we will.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Belfield.
I know we don't normally comment behind public comment,
That is correct.
but it's disturbing to me that Senator Barnes and Buck Newton introducing a bill up there to make the school board districts coterminous with the county commission. Now, we mentioned it in one of our closed sessions, and I said then that I did not agree with it. How did it get to them?
Mr. Belfield, I'd like for us to discuss that at a later time.
Well, we sure need to do it because I'm going to put on record right now, I will not support that.
Understood. And you would need to talk to Senator Barnes and Senator Newton.
Well, I
You know
certainly
this
will.
board
I
doesn't have
certainly
anything to
will.
do with it.
Because you need input from the citizens of the county.
Right.
To do something like that.
Sure. Understood.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to mimic what
I think we are
Belfield said.
a little bit out of order in doing this, but I will let you speak, but,
I just want to mimic what he said. I would support a resolution for that because there's been no public hearing. Many of the parents and citizens in Nash County are unaware of it. They should know their feelings. And I honestly, truly believe, and this is probably for closed session, but I believe that this bill would never have come, Senate Bill 248, had Lisa Barnes or Buck Newton been urged to do it. They would not have done it without consulting with someone on this county commissioner. And Buck Newton is not, doesn't even represent Nash County. I know he's up in the legislature, but from my understanding, he's not. He doesn't represent Nash County. So I would ask that Senator Barnes, Buck Newton, hold public hearings and whatnot, and that we seriously consider letting the school district draw their own lines. Thank you.
And, Mr. Chairman, I also oppose this bill, as indicated earlier, that we do not support this legislation.
thank you, Commissioners. Okay, we'll move on to item number 6, which is a resolution designating May as an Older American Month. And at this time, I'll call on Ashley Winstead to make this presentation. Good morning, Ashley.
Good morning.
Morning.
Every May, the Administration for Community Living leads the nation's observance of Older Americans Month. The 2023 theme is Aging Unbound, which offers an opportunity to explore diverse aging experiences and discuss how communities can combat stereotypes. Please join us in promoting flexible thinking about aging and how we all benefit when older adults remain engaged, independent, and included. The resolution to designate May as Older Americans Month reads, whereas Nash County includes a growing number of older Americans who contribute their time, wisdom, and experience to our community, and whereas communities benefit when people of all ages, abilities, and backgrounds have the opportunity to participate and live independently. And whereas Nash County recognized the needs to create a community that offers the services and supports older adults may need to make choices on how they age. And whereas Nash County can work to build an even better community for our older residents by not limiting our thinking about aging, exploring and combating stereotypes, emphasizing the many positive aspects of aging, inspiring older adults to push past traditional boundaries, and embracing our community's diversity. Now, therefore, we of Nash County do hereby proclaim May 2023 to be Older Americans Month. We urge every resident to celebrate our older citizens, help to create an inclusive society, and accept the challenge of flexible thinking around aging. And we have a short video of our Nash County Senior Center that we'd like to share.
Great.
Hi, I'm Ashley Winstead, Nash County Senior Services Director, and welcome to the Nash Senior Center. Our senior centers are a place for older adults aged 60 and over to come socialize, enjoy activities and educational programs, use our fitness equipment, or utilize one of the many services that we offer. Fitness activities are some of our most popular programs. We have Exercise to the Beat, Tai Chi, line dancing, body craze, and most recently we added Zumba. Exercise to the Beat is led by Sandy Richardson, our activity specialist. It is offered 3 times a week and involves using drumsticks to follow along and exercise to the music. For a slower pace activity, Tai Chi is another popular instructor-led program. A lot of members enjoyed the use of 3 pool tables that are available. We offer monthly pool tournaments for both men and women. For members that like activities at their own pace, we have quiet rooms for crafts such as quilting and to play cards and games. A main focus of Nash County Senior Services is to keep our older adults active. We have a fitness room with equipment such as treadmills, bikes, and weights. Once a participant receives a medical clearance from their doctor, they will attend a fitness orientation on how to safely use the equipment. Educational opportunities such as computer classes and health and wellness programs are also offered. We have a computer lab with 9 computers to learn new technology. An instructor-led course through Nash Community College teaches you how to email, browse the internet, and use applications like Microsoft Word. We partner with Cooperative Extension and local medical facilities to provide educational and health and wellness programs, such as diabetes management, heart disease prevention, and healthy eating habits. Nash County Senior Services also provides programs such as home-delivered meals, general and medical transportation, family caregiver support, Project Lifesaver, and SHIP counseling. If you would like more information on the Nash County Senior Center or any of the services that we offer, please come and see us at 103 North Austin Street in Nashville or call us at 459-7681. And I just want to say thank you so much for your support of the Nash County Older Adults and our staff. Thank you.
Hold on just one moment. Let me see if any commissioners have any comments or questions
Okay.
they may ask of you. Any questions or comments?
I just
it's
thank
good.
you, I really do. It's really nice to see seniors in action and engaged, and I'm fortunate to say I'm at that point, and at some point, I'll be sitting there doing the cards and playing tunk and spades and whatever else, but thank you for all you do and your staff.
Thank you.
Mr. Belfield?
Oh, I just want to say that it's good to recognize our seniors. The population in Nash County is increasing, and the demand's going to increase. So we need to prepare and be ready for that now and recognize and respect the wisdom and knowledge of our senior citizens.
Thank you, sir. Other comments? Ashley, could you speak about the display that we had here on the third floor? Did that have anything to do?
That is for Downey Senior Games. So that was for our silver arts that we have. So that most of our games are played on the field and stuff, so they offer something called silver arts to allow for people to have their artistic abilities displayed. So they were able to submit those, and we were able to judge those.
Okay. Well, it was some fantastic items out there, I would tell you. I thoroughly enjoyed walking through those. I was trying to get my other half to come up here and look at them. I don't know where she's been or not yet.
Yeah, definitely.
Are they still out there?
Yes, they'll be here through May 17th.
Oh, okay, great.
Yep.
I'll get her up
Got
there.
time.
Yep, that's
All right.
wonderful. All right, I'd entertain a motion to approve the resolution at this time.
Mr. Chairman?
I have a motion by
offer-
Commissioner Combs, Mr. Belfield.
I offer motion that we approve the resolution to designate May as Old Americans Month.
I had a motion on this side a little bit sooner. You okay to second that motion?
Well, that's fine.
Which is the same motion, yes, sir.
It doesn't bother me about who made the motion.
I understand. Thank you,
I'll
sir.
second it.
All right, any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries, and thank you, ma'am, and all your staff for what you do. All right, we'll move to item number 7, which is our first public hearing for today. It is the public hearing on conditional rezoning request CZ 230401, private campground and RV park. And I'll call on Mr. Tyson at this time to make this presentation. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. As the chairman said, this first planning item is a public hearing on a conditional rezoning request. That's all right. The subject property is displayed on the screen. It's approximately 1.15 acres. That's a portion of a larger, approximately 30.5 acre tract of land. The land is owned by Georgia L. Martin and Kenneth G. Martin. It's located on Milliefield Lane, which is the interior access drive for an existing manufactured home park here. Milliefield Lane, of course, is off the north side of West Tarboro Road, and this property is to the southwest of the city of Rocky Mount. The site is a portion of an R20 medium-density residential zoning district. You can see the difference between the lighter green color here, that's the R20, and the surrounding R30. That R20 zone was established in October 1998 by the county for the already existing manufactured home park. So the manufactured home park predated the zoning, but the zoning was created in '98. The property is located in the Tar-Pamlico River Basin and the WS4PA Watershed Protection Overlay District. So as it is developed in the future, it will continue to be subject to stormwater management regulations. Property also has access to Nash County Public Water. There's an existing 12-inch water main running along the West Tarboro Road public right-of-way. The property owner has submitted this rezoning request to rezone the subject property outlined in red, this box right here on both maps, from R20 to A1CZ Agricultural Conditional Zone, with the specific intention of developing that area as a private campground RV park. A private campground RV park is a recreational land use permitted for development in an A1 zoning district, subject to a set of established development standards that are listed in UDO section 11-4.58. Of course, the conditional nature of this rezoning allows for the attachment of reasonable site-specific development conditions with the consent of the applicant. I want to turn our attention to the proposed site plan. The area in question is down here, and you can see a blow-up detail of that within the circle on the left side of the screen. This site plan depicts 9 campsites on the east side of Milliefield Lane, with some additional, 4 additional parking spaces on the west side of Milliefield Lane. The current site plan will require multiple revisions in order to satisfy the minimum development standards that I just mentioned that are established in the Unified Development Ordinance for a private campground RV park. That was communicated to the applicant on April the 5th, and those changes are further detailed later in the report under the site plan revisions section. Whenever we consider a rezoning, we are obligated by state law to consult the Nash County Comprehensive Land Use Plan. This request was found by the staff to be mostly inconsistent with the recommendations of the plan for establishing non-residential and/or commercial land uses within the area designated as a residential agricultural area. That is the green that you see on the map on the screen, and as you can see, the entire subject area, the red box, is in that residential agricultural area. It is inconsistent with the recommendations there because, number one, the property is not located within a quarter mile of a major intersection. Number two, it's not located in proximity to other similar existing non-residential and/or commercial land uses. Number three, it's not significantly spatially separated from the surrounding existing residences, particularly the manufactured homes that are already in the manufactured home park. Number four, the proposed commercial recreational private campground RV park would not be considered a, quote, context appropriate land use given the residential nature of the immediately surrounding area. One area where the request is consistent with the plan's recommendation is for non-residential or commercial land uses to have frontage along and access to a state-maintained secondary road. And of course, this site is directly located along West Tarboro Road, which is a state-maintained secondary road. As we consider reasonableness and spot zoning, the staff found that this request may be considered unreasonable spot zoning and not in the public interest, simply because there's a significant degree of difference between the transient short-term recreational nature of the proposed private campground and the permanent long-term residential nature of those immediately adjacent and surrounding dwellings. The Technical Review Committee considered this request back on April the 5th and recommended denial, again, due to its inconsistency with the recommendations of our comprehensive land use plan and the determination that approval of the request would be unreasonable spot zoning and not in the public interest. The Planning Board considered this request on April 17th. 3 members of the public addressed the board with regard to the request. They cited a number of potential concerns, including increases in traffic, noise, and crime, a potential decrease in surrounding property values, and the apparent lack of nearby attractions or recreational activities for campers. Mr. Kevin Varnell with Stocks Engineering, as well as the property owners, Mr. and Mrs. Martin, addressed the board at that meeting in support of the request. The planning board voted unanimously to recommend denial of the request, citing the same reasons as the TRC, the inconsistency with the comprehensive land use plan and a determination that it would be unreasonable spot zoning. As usual, you have in your packet today a motion to approve the zoning amendment as well as to deny the zoning amendment. Both include draft statements of plan consistency and reasonableness for your consideration and adoption. I want to call your attention to the motion to approve the zoning map amendment. Immediately following the statement of plan consistency and reasonableness, there are a list of 20 site plan revisions that would need to take place before the plan would meet the minimum requirements of the ordinance. A lot of these are very cosmetic and have to do with notations on the site plan itself. So I want to call your attention to those that are most meaningful. Out the bottom of page 10, number 12, the developer would need to provide a minimum 50-foot wide permanent buffer yard along the exterior boundaries of the campground RV park that abut a residential area. And that would be 3 sides, the west, the north, and the east, that is immediately adjacent to residential zoning. Within that buffer, there would need to be a planted vegetative screening that's expected to reach a minimum height of 8 feet at maturity. And that is per the specific requirements of the UDO for a campground. On page 11, number 13, the developer would be required to provide a minimum 10-foot wide roadside buffer yard between the campground and West Tarboro Road, and that would include planted vegetative screening that satisfies the particular requirements of UDO section 11-3.1A. And finally, number 14, the developer will need to designate a minimum of 8% of the gross area of the campground as common use area for open or enclosed recreation facilities. As I said, those are 3 of 20 revisions, but I think those 3 are the most impactful and the most meaningful, particularly for the way that the development would be experienced by the surrounding property owners. There is also, as would be expected with a conditional rezoning, a list of recommended conditions to be attached. Number 1, the subject property would be approved for the development of a private campground RV park only. Number 2, the private campground RV park would be developed on the subject property in accordance with the approved site plan and all the applicable requirements of the Unified Development Ordinance, and that encompasses the 20 revisions that are requested above. Number 3, per the ordinance, no campsite shall be used as a permanent place of abode, dwelling, or business for indefinite periods of time, and continuous occupancy extending beyond 3 months in any 12-month period would be presumed to be permanent occupancy. Number 4, there should be no permanently attached additions to a camper, recreational vehicle, or travel trailer, and that is with the intention of keeping them mobile. Number 5, the vegetative screening buffers that will be depicted on the site plan must be planted, preserved, maintained, supplemented, and/or replaced as necessary to continue to provide effective visual screening of the development. Number 6 outlines the other state and county approvals that would be needed prior to a construction authorization. And number 7 specifies that the approved zoning map amendment would remain invalid unless and until the petitioners consent in writing to all the ultimately attached development conditions. I do have one statement to share with the board during the public hearing from a surrounding property owner who was too ill to be with us today. I will do that when the public hearing commences, if that's okay with the chair. But with that, I want to pause and take any questions prior to the public hearing that the board has on the staff report.
Questions of Mr. Tyson on staff report?
Mr. Tyson?
Yes.
Are there other private campgrounds like this located in similar zones around the county?
There is one under development off of Fraser Road, Prophecy Road. That was done prior to the board making a text amendment that would require this rezoning process for private campgrounds, RV parks. And then, of course, historically, there is the portion of Lake Royale in extreme western Nash County that functions as an RV campground. But those are the only two throughout the county that I'm aware of.
Thank you.
Adam, the ones, if I vaguely remember right, we had during the pipeline, were they approved as temporary situations?
There is a provision in the ordinance that was adopted when the pipeline was proposed to come through Nash County for major construction projects that would allow workers to temporarily relocate. But those have to be attached to a major construction project, and they are temporary. But there's a different set of regulations for those.
Right. I just recall something we had adopted back then. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Tyson. If there are no other questions, I'd entertain a motion to go into public hearing on this matter.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw, seconded by Commissioner Wilkins, I think. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. And ladies and gentlemen, we are in a public hearing at this time, and if you wish to speak, we'd like for you to come up, state your name and address for the record. And Mr. Tyson, while you're at the podium, why don't you read for the record the one that you had given to you?
Yes, sir. This statement is from Debbie Branch Phillips. She writes, I am writing this letter because my health will not let me attend in person. I would like to express my thoughts on the rezoning request of West Tarboro Road at Rocky Mount for a private campground RV park. My parents built the house at 8557 West Tarboro Road across the street from this proposed RV park site in 1966. This is where I grew up and created many happy memories. This area has declined quite a bit in the last 10 years, such that it doesn't feel very safe there day or night anymore as it is. The property adjacent to the RV park proposed site already has a mobile home park that has frequent crime issues already. The once quiet neighborhood is now filled with loud automotive exhaust and super loud music. I cannot find a legitimate reason why anyone would want to camp in this area, as there is no resort, parks, lake, or even a pond. Without a reason to draw campers to this site, I fear this will become the creation of a lot more crime in this area, which would significantly decrease property value and all of my existing neighbors' property values as well. I am asking Nash County not to grant rezoning of this proposed location on West Tarboro Road. West Tarboro Road is not designed to deal with all of the traffic this park would create, not to mention the noise associated with residents coming and going all times of the day and night, and the safety issues that are inevitable to come with the added traffic. Sincerely, Debbie Branch Phillips. And again, Ms. Phillips is the property owner of 8557 West Tarboro Road.
Thank you, Mr. Tyson. Others here wish to speak for or against this item at this time? Morning, Mr. Varnell.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Kevin Varnell with Stocks Engineering. I'm here representing the owners and developers of the property, and I would like to reserve most of my time and let Ms. Martin come up and share with you her vision for the property, but I'll be happy to answer any technical questions you might have on the park.
Any questions of the engineer on this item?
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Others that wish to speak? Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Georgia Martin, and I am one of the owners of this property, and
Give us your address, if you would, Ms. Martin.
my address?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, it's 8498 West Harborough Road. We are on we own that entire parcel, and we also live on that entire parcel. Okay, we have a house that's, I can't see the map from here, but it's within a few hundred feet of this. Okay, but I'd also like to say that we also own an adjacent 30-acre parcel to this, and it would be to the east side. So I would first like to say it's only 9 RV sites. It's not we keep saying campground, but it's just a small area with 9 sites to help with this farm income, because we are moving into an agritourism item for our farm, and would bring a lot, the agritourism itself is bringing a lot of income in. We already have strawberry patch, blueberry patch, this is a U-Pick, we also have a store we're putting up there, and I'm going to jump around a little bit because a lot of information recently was thrown at me. The last meeting we had with the planning board, the woman whose letter you just read owns a parcel there, but she doesn't live there. And she hasn't been there. We own Millie Fields now for 2.5 years, and we came in there and we cleaned that park out. The crimes, drugs, none of that. We don't tolerate any of that anymore. Everybody in there's on a 30-day lease. We're trying to get this property cleaned up at the planning board, the other neighbors that spoke had said that we have to live there too, is what it boils down to. But I lost my job. We've got 60 acres here. We felt tourism was the way for us to go, so we want to offer a lot more, not only for us, it would be good for the community. We're doing another corn maze this fall. We're going to do a haunted trail walk. We have spring things planned. Everything takes time and money. I'm sure you all know that. But this is something we feel would be a good use for our farm. I'm getting that the public doesn't think it's a good idea, but if you're looking at RV sites compared to a mobile home park, I mean, if you want to find two very close, they're very close in what they house people who are staying there. Again, 9 RV sites is not going to add a lot of traffic to West Tarboro Road. It's a busy enough road now with plenty of tractor trailers from all the farms and everything else. I'm really surprised that we were getting any opposition for this at all. I understand the general the plan for the area there, which is not a great area, but we would like to bring it up, at least do our part to do that. And I'm just shocked at any opposition for it at all. So if you look on it's not up there now, but where the sites are, it even looks a lot bigger than it is. What is put there, it's just, yeah, thank you. Where you see the stripes, the white areas where the campers are going to be parked, I mean, it's a very small area. The area of Millie Fields right there is plenty wide enough to accommodate that. So anyhow, we are moving into agritourism one way or the other. We have to. Farms don't make a whole lot of money. There's over 1,200 farm campground agritourism related in North Carolina alone. 50% of farmers make between $40,000 and $100,000 a year. It's not a lucrative business. It is a labor of love. But you have to do what you have to do when you're maintaining this kind of land and farm equipment, what that all costs, and the real property taxes on that. It's insane what we are going through, but we're doing what we can to try to save what we have. And I think that would be all. I'll be happy to answer anybody's questions. And
Okay. Questions of this speaker?
I just want a clarification, Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
Did you say you own the homes or mobile homes on Milliefield Lane?
I do.
All of them?
Mm-hmm.
Other questions? Thank you, Ms. May. Anyone else wish to speak for or against this item? Seeing no one, entertain a motion to close the public hearing at this time.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw, is there a second? Second by Commissioner Belfield. Questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Public hearing is now closed. Any other discussion or questions from the board? Pleasure of the board.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Nash County Board of Commissioners adopt the statement of plan consistency and reasonableness as listed in the package for denial of the conditional rezoning request, and specifically, it's inconsistent with the recommendations of the Nash County Comprehensive Land Use Plan, and it's unreasonable spot zoning and not in the public interest.
Okay, I have a motion to deny. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Combs. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries and the request for rezoning is denied. Next item is item number 9, is item number 8, which is a conditional use permit. I believe this is an extension permit number CU 200101 East Nash PV Solar.
This item does not require a public hearing, simply an action by the board. This item is a reminder of our previous method of approving solar farms. You'll recall in 2021, we adopted certain amendments to our ordinance in order to bring it into alignment with state statutes, and we no longer use the method of a conditional use permit to approve a solar farm. However, this one is a holdover from right before we amended the ordinance. Back in February 3 of 2020, this board issued conditional use permit CU 200101 for the development of the northern portion of the East Nash PV solar farm. This is, for the northern portion is approximately 183 acres, shown in red on the aerial photo on the screen. This is north of Old Franklin Road. The southern portion of the solar farm would be located within the town of Spring Hope's extraterritorial jurisdiction, or ETJ. That is outlined in blue to the south here. And therefore, that portion is subject to the town's zoning development regulations. This board later amended the permit on June 1st, 2020 to expand that solar farm project to include an additional 33.6 acres that extends off to the east to Bass Road, and that is this parcel right here, kind of an L-shaped parcel on the right-hand side of the map. The issuance and amendment of the permit established initially a 2-year vested right period in which the solar farm facility could begin construction, and the board subsequently granted a further 1-year permit extension back on May the 2nd of 2022. And that extension is now scheduled to expire on June 1st of this year. In response, Pine Gate Renewables, the project developer, has requested an additional 1-year extension of conditional use permit CU 200-101 in order to allow the permit to remain valid through June 1st, 2024. Since the last permit extension was granted, Blue Ridge Power LLC, the construction contractor, has begun and almost completed construction on the southern portion, which falls primarily in the town of Spring Hope's jurisdiction. The developer has continued to work with Duke Energy to obtain the remaining necessary interconnection upgrades and approvals required for the northern portion, which is primarily in Nash County's jurisdiction, and they currently anticipate beginning construction on that portion in spring 2024. Of course, once they begin construction on the portion within Nash County, there would be no further need for any extensions of this development permit. The Unified Development Ordinance allows the Board of Commissioners as the permit issuing authority to extend for a period up to 1 year the date when a conditional use permit would otherwise expire if it concludes that it meets the 3 following criteria. Number 1, the permit must not have yet expired, and in this case it has not. Number 2, the permit recipient has proceeded with due diligence and in good faith, and I've outlined for you how they have pursued the construction of the southern portion of the solar farm while continuing to secure the development approvals from Duke Energy needed for the northern portion. And then finally, the board must determine that conditions have not changed so substantially as to warrant a new application. There is no, if it meets those three criteria, there's no call for the applicant to submit any new documentation or fees. And as I mentioned at the beginning, there is no requirement for a further public hearing. There's no limit on the number of permit extensions that the board may grant for a particular project. And as a reminder, the permit extension does not alter any of the conditions that were attached to the original permit. They all remain in effect. And finally, at the end of your report there's a suggested motion to use for the approval or denial of the extension. And I'll take any questions that the board has on the report.
Any questions of Mr. Tyson from a board member? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion as stated in the agenda item.
Mr. Chairman, seeing that all the extension conditions has been met, I make a motion that we move that the Nash County Board of Commissioners approve the requested extension date for the conditional use permit issued by the developer of the East Nash PV Solar Farm for an additional one-year period from June 1 to June 1, 2023 to June 1, 2024.
I have a motion read by Commissioner Ayrton. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Several seconds. Heard Ms. Wilkins. Questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? That motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Tyson.
Thank you.
Anything else for you, sir?
No, sir.
All right, we'll move to item number 9, which is a public hearing and approval of economic development funds for I-95/Highway 97 Shell Building. I'll call on Andy Hagee at this time. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. I'm happy to be here for this public hearing on our second Shell building, 100,000 square feet, Highway 97. Just need to read the notice regarding the public hearing, which states pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 158-7.1, please be advised that the Nash County Board of Commissioners will conduct a public hearing at 9 a.m. or as soon thereafter as it may be heard on Monday, May the 1st, 2023, at the Nash County Administration Building located at 120 West Washington Street, Nashville, North Carolina, 27856. The purpose of the hearing is to receive public input on the proposed allocation of funds for the construction of a 100,000 square foot shell building to be located at I-95 Highway 97 industrial site. The total construction expenditure will not exceed $4 million. The intent of the project is to enhance the county's tax base, future job creation, and economic development growth. This notice and contemplated public hearing will comply with the requirements of NC General Statute 158-7.1. The Board of Commissioners intend to approve the resolution authorizing the allocation of funds. And of course, recommendation would be the approval of the funds.
All right, any questions of Mr. Hagee at this time? Thank you, Andy. I'd entertain a motion to go into public hearing on this matter.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Leggett, second by Commissioner Belfield. Questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Ladies and gentlemen, we are now in a public hearing to hear from the public about this economic development expenditure. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak for or against this item? Seeing no movement, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing at this time.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wilkins. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Belfield. Questions on that motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries as well. Any further discussion from the board? Any questions, comments? Seeing none, I entertain a motion for approval.
Move for approval.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Belfield. Questions on the motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Thank you, sir. Andy, why don't you go ahead and take care of item number 10, which is appointment of the chairman for the Nash County Economic Development Alliance.
Okay, the newly established Nash County Economic Development Alliance received recommendations from current advisory board members for the position of chairman. Staff would like to put forward the recommendation of Robert Covington to serve as chair and to be approved by the Nash County Board of Commissioners. Mr. Covington was appointed to the Nash County Economic Development Alliance by Commissioner Leggett to represent District 4. Mr. Covington retired in 2020 from Universal Leaf North America and is willing to serve. So we would recommend the approval, the recommendation for Mr. Covington to serve as chair.
All right, I entertain a motion for approval.
I move to approve Robert Covington as the
Nash
chair
for-
of Nash County Economic Development Alliance.
All right, have a motion by Commissioner Leggett. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wilkins. Did you have a question, Mr. Belfield?
Oh, I was going to say, you didn't ask for any questions.
Okay, if I didn't, I think I did, but I'm not sure. Do you have a question? It is
Yeah,
time for
I
questions
was-
because we have a motion and a
Yes,
second on the
I
floor.
know you have a motion on the floor, but this alliance, is this recommendation coming from the alliance or is it coming from the county staff?
From the alliance.
From the county staff?
From the alliance.
From the alliance, okay.
What the bylaws say, Mr. Belfield, is that this board of commissioners will appoint that chairman. And the
Yeah, I
staff,
understand that, but I
Okay.
was
yeah,
trying
the
to
staff
be
is,
clear where the recommendation is coming from.
the recommendation came from the staff.
Yeah, we're just a messenger.
No, it came from the,
Was this presented to the alliance then if it's coming from the staff?
It was discussed with the alliance board. I'm not sure I understand your question.
Well, my question is, if it's a recommendation from the staff, did the staff take it to the alliance board? Alliance,
The alliance board has not, this has not been taken to the alliance board because the board of commissioners appoint that chairperson. So it's before us to appoint the chairperson.
without any input from them?
I'll ask Andy, did we have any input from the alliance board itself?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I do want to say I did give input and I approved it before this, and I sit on the Alliance Board.
Correct.
Well, it clearly states in the minutes that the newly established Economic Development Alliance received recommendations from the current advisory board members.
Correct.
And I know Mr. Covington personally, and he'll be a great asset to this board serving as chairman.
I'm not against the person, but I was just wondering about the procedure.
Okay.
Right.
All right. You get your question answered, sir? You good?
Yeah.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item number 11. Item 11 is the 2020 Community Development Block Grant on the coronavirus, and I'll call on Patsy McGee at this time to make the presentation and the request.
Yes, sir. Nash County, as we discussed last month, was previously awarded $900,000 in CDBG coronavirus funds by the state of North Carolina. And these funds can be used within the boundaries of low to moderate income municipalities and census block groups. So to use the fund, we've explored a wide variety of options and worked with the help of quite a few local partners and had guidance from the State Division of Commerce, State Department of Commerce, Division of Rural Economic Development. And last month, you had a public hearing to reallocate some unused funds. And this month, we're having another public hearing to consider some additional activities. The reason that we didn't have it last month, we were waiting on Commerce for some incremental approvals as it goes through the process. So the proposals now in this public hearing to be considered are a touchless faucet, hand dryer, and automatic doors at the Sharpsburg Senior Center, because apparently it's okay to have automatic doors at a senior center, but not at a town hall, which we had also proposed previously in another request. And extension of 2 walking trails at Castelia Community Park and Spring Hope Community Park. So the recommendation is to hold the public hearing.
Mr. McGee, according to my instructions, I'm holding a public hearing, and we would have discussion, but there is no action needed by this board.
That's correct.
Seems a bit odd, but okay. Any questions, Mr. McGee, on this item before I call for the public hearing? Entertain a motion to go into public hearing.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Leggett, second by Commissioner Wilkins. Questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in a public hearing at this time on this matter. If there's anyone here from the public wishing to speak, please come forward and state your name and address for the record, and the board will be glad to hear from you. You gonna speak, Mr. Durham? Seeing no movement, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Moved by Commissioner Combs, there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Outlaw. Questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries as well.
Thank you.
And that's all we need to do.
Yes, sir.
Seems a bit odd, but okay, take your word for it. Item number 12 is the monthly tax report, and I'll call on Doris Sumner at this time to make that report. Madam Clerk, if you will help prompt me at the 11 o'clock hour, I would greatly appreciate it.
All right, good morning.
Good morning.
At this time, I'd like to present the monthly tax report. As you all know, this report is designed to keep the board current on activities in the tax collector's office. The report is for your information only and does not require approval. However, it is recommended that you accept the report so that it will be noted in the minutes. And of course, if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer those.
Questions on the tax report? Can you give us a 20-word summary of where we stand?
Yes, we're doing really well. From last month, we were just slightly ahead from the month, from the March month from last year in 2023. And this current ending month for April, unofficially, we are doing very, very well. 78.75. So we've got a little bit more to go to push. We're trying to get that 99 as we did last year and a little bit more, so.
So we're going over 100 this year.
No, we're not going over 100. We're not going over 100. I will mention that we will be sending our delinquent list to the newspaper to publish any unpaid taxes at the end of the month. So people have a few more days if they'd like to get those paid to avoid advertisement, if they could at least get them in the next day, Wednesday or Thursday, to avoid advertisement.
Can I look at that list before it goes?
Yes, sir. I'll forward that to you.
All right, any questions on the report? Sounds like you're doing very well, and we greatly appreciate that. It is received for the record. And item 13 is the tax refunds, and I understand you may not have any show up?
Do not have any for this month. No
Okay,
tax
do not have any.
refunds.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll bring you back up at 11 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
Item number 15 is the audit contract, and I'll call on Donna Woods at this time to make the presentation.
Good morning.
Fit right in with the front row here.
Okay. The Local Government Commission requires the governing body to approve the audit contract annually. This audit contract is with Thompson Price Scott Adams and Company. The cost of the audit and preparation of the annual financial statements for fiscal year 2023 is set at $53,500. And the recommendation for the board is to approve the contract as presented.
How does that stack up from last year?
I believe it's slightly higher. We did a proposal for our new auditors, or not new auditors, but a proposal to seek our a proposal for auditing services, and they're the same auditors that we've had. It is a slight increase, and I am trying to remember last year's, but it may be a 3% increase over last year.
Okay. Other questions on this item? Entertain a motion for approval.
Move for approval?
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Leggett, second by Commissioner Combs. Questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Audit stands approved. Item number 16 is Reserve Fund Policy Update. Go ahead, Ms. Wood.
Okay, based on discussion and review of the Nash County Reserve policies at the Board of Commissioner meeting on March 28, 2023, staff recommends to update Nash County Reserve policies, stating the county will maintain a minimum general fund unassigned fund balance at the close of each fiscal year equal to no less than 20% of general fund expenditures. And this recommendation is a change of our current existing policies where it says fund balance available for appropriation at the close of each fiscal year shall be no less than 15% of general fund expenditures. So it's a wording change from available to unassigned and from a minimum of 15% to 20%. That's the primary change in this policy.
Questions of Ms. Wood on this item? Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wilkins. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Outlaw. Questions on the motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? That motion carries, and glad to see us get that done. Item number 17 is a capital project ordinance for 97 Industrial Park Shell Building.
Okay. This capital project ordinance is presented to set up the initial project funding and expenditures to support the construction of a 100,000 square foot pre-engineered steel shell building to be located at the NC 97 Industrial Park. The project cost of design, construction, and potential roadway improvements associated with the project are projected to be $5 million. In March 2022, the board approved to use $1 million received from the North Carolina Office of State Budget and Management State Capital Infrastructure Fund to support the construction of shell building, and the county plans to borrow up to $4 million to finance the remaining balance of the project. As part of this initial project funding, this ordinance includes a transfer from the general fund balance to the NC 97 shell building capital project to support the project costs until financing is put in place, which is anticipated to be in July of 2023. Once the financing is approved, the board will be presented with the request to transfer these funds back to the general fund.
Questions on this item? Entertain a motion for approval.
Move for approval.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw, second by Commissioner Combs. Questions on that motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. We'll go to added item, which is 17A that you had at your place this morning.
Okay.
It is a North Carolina State and Capital Infrastructure Fund grant project ordinance. Ms. Woods?
Okay. This is an amendment to that ordinance. Nash County was awarded $1 million from North Carolina Office of State Budget and Management. Grant funds are reused for expenses incurred for county capital. Nash County plans to use the funds to construct the shell building, or part of the shell building at North Carolina 97 Industrial Park. The shell building construction has been bid. This amendment is to the grant ordinance is to transfer the grant funds to the Highway 97 shell building capital project that was just approved to support the construction. The recommendation is approve the grant project ordinance amendment to transfer those funds.
Okay, questions on this item? Seeing none, I entertain a motion for approval.
Move for approval.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw for approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Belfield. Questions on that motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries as well. We'll move on to item number 18, which is housing 2023 essential single-family rehabilitation.
Okay.
Ms.
This, Nash County was awarded $162,000 in essential single-family rehabilitation loan pool funds by the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency. Program funding will enable Nash County to provide deferred interest-free forgiven loans of up to $40,000 for home repairs to low-income owner-occupied homes. Eligible households are those with one or more full-time household members with special needs, which include elderly, disabled, or military veteran full-time household members, or a child 6 years of age or under living in a home with lead hazards. Household incomes cannot exceed 80% of area median household income. Recommendation is to approve the project budget ordinance.
Questions on this item? Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wilkins, there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Arrington. Questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? 18 stands approved. We'll go to 19, which is budget amendments.
Okay, the board was submitted originally 12 budget amendments. One of those budget amendments, which is number 7, is a repeat. So I have 11 budget amendments to present before you. The first item is fund balance appropriation. This amendment is presented to transfer funds to the North Carolina 97 Industrial Park Shell Building Project to support the project until financing is available. It's a request for $4 million from the fund balance, from the general fund balance. The next item is also a fund balance appropriation. This amendment is presented to adjust funding available to ensure various departmental expenditures can be covered through the end of the fiscal year based on current projections. It's a fund balance appropriation request of $151,700 to various departments within the general fund.
Would you mind walking through those individually?
Sure. We have elected officials, that's board funding of $2,500 based on a cost of living that was not budgeted originally with the original budget that we need to put in place to complete through the end of the year. That was part of the cost of living that we did with the staff. That was also provided to the elected officials. Additional travel and training funds for elected officials of $2,000. Within the grant department, full-time salaries, one of the positions is partially funded by ARPA funds. The other part needs to be available from the general fund. Public building utilities, public building maintenance, legal fees, tax salaries, and IT salaries. One position was moved to IT, and you can see that's just a transfer of funds. Telephone services within our IT department, building security telephone system, that's a small increase because we put a position in place for that, and our medical examiner services. That's also a difficult item to budget up, not knowing what's going to happen throughout the year. So that's a request of $20,000.
Is the legal fees just general legal fees?
They are general legal fees. Again, that's another difficult area to identify, but with some of the East Point items that we've had to fund during the year, it's increased more than we anticipated.
And this projection will get us to the end of the fiscal year?
That is what we're projecting to get us through the end of the fiscal year.
Okay, thank you.
The next item is ABC mixed beverage tax. This budget amendment appropriates additional funds for county ABC mixed beverage funds. The request of $75,000 is estimated based on the annualized collections to date in order to expend the funds as directed by General Statute 18B 805H through June 2023. No additional county funds are required. Social services, this amendment is presented to adjust federal funds available for vital services to disabled adults for whom the need for protective services have been substantiated. Funds will be used for housing, medications, food, and other needed services. Additional funds are needed and non-reimbursable due to the increase in substance abuse cases requiring drug testing, as well as additional funds for eligible wastewater client expenses. It's a request of $132,949. No additional county funds are required. Senior Services, this amendment's presented to budget Medicare Improvement for Patient and Provider Act grant funds received by the Senior Center. It's $4,226, and no additional county funds are required. Number 6 is with Cooperative Extension Farmers Market. This amendment's presented to budget grant funding from Nash Arts Council to support music entertainment at the farmers market and to budget additional sponsorship funds collected to be used for the upcoming regional production meeting. It's a request of $3,992. No additional county funds are required. As I indicated earlier, number 7, if it's on there, was originally a repeat, so and that was a Senior Services. I want to move on to Parks and Recreation. This budget amendment makes funds available from the increased participation for additional expenditures associated with the increase for part-time staff, athletic equipment, and supplies and sports services. So it's an increase. We've received additional revenue associated with it and their additional expenses with the increase in activity, which is actually a positive thing for the county, but it's a request of $33,360. No additional county funds are required. The next item is with Emergency Services. This amendment is to budget funds received from the Duke University Race Cars Cardiac Arrest Trial to be used for staff development, educational public relations materials, and office equipment. It was funding of $6,100, and no additional county funds are required. The next item is with the Asset Forfeiture Funds. This amendment is presented to budget informants funding for the purchase of an Explorer and a Durango on a state contract, and equipment installation for the vehicles. It's a request of use of the asset forfeiture funds of $100,000, and no county funds are requested. The next item is fines and forfeiture funds. This amendment is presented to budget additional projected collections related to fines and forfeitures and the related submittal to the Nash County Public School Board of Education as required for fiscal year 2023. It's a request of $50,000. No county funds are required. And that's based on projections of what we're seeing in our collections of fines and forfeitures. And the final item I have is with the water and sewer funds. This amendment's presented to budget the AIA Asset Inventory and Assessment Grants received and the related professional services for Central Nash Water and Northern Nash Sewer. So it's $150,000 for each of the grants, so $300,000. There are no county matching funds required.
Any questions of Ms. Wood on either of these 11 budget amendments? Ms. Wood, back on the first one, is it anticipated that we will have that funding in place to return that $4 million back to fund balance before the end of the fiscal year?
No, right now we are looking at going to the Local Government Commission in July, so we can't move that money back until funding is actually in place and approved. So based on our timeline of our financing calendar, we moved that meeting to July of 2023.
Okay.
So hopefully not long after that, we'd be able to transfer those funds back.
Let's just take a hypothetical situation with the change we just made in fund balance policy of 20%. If we would have a large situation like that moving forward and we got caught in that timeline, how would we make that work across the fiscal year if we were to dip below 20% waiting on financing? Is that a possibility?
It is a possibility. I mean, there's always, we have a plan, and our plan is already in place to put that back in. So I think the way that the policy is set up, it indicates that if it does drop below the 3% minimum, we would, the 20% minimum, the county will adopt a plan to replenish the reserve, and that plan is already in place.
I remember that now. I wouldn't expect that to happen, but I just wanted to ask that question.
And you've got a timeline to replenish it, I believe, in your plan.
We do have a timeline.
Right. Did I ask for a motion, Madam Clerk? Okay, entertain a motion for approval of the 11 budget amendments.
Move for approval.
Have a motion by Commissioner Leggett, a second by Commissioner Combs. Questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. Budget amendment stand approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is item number 20, which is NC 97 Industrial Park Shell Building Number 1. I'll call on Mr. Boone at this time. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Morning, fellow
Good
commissioners.
news you have for us.
Well, the board has already had a couple of agenda items this morning related to this matter, but I'm pleased to present to the board bids were received on April 18th for our first shell building at the NC 97 Industrial Park. And we received 6 bids. The low bid was received from Smithson Incorporated. Smithson is a company that we're familiar with. They're currently building our second shell building at Middlesex as we speak. Low bid for our 100,000 square foot building at NC 97. Base bid, 100,000 square foot, 36 feet, low eave, textured metal panels, $3,967,736. So that's about roughly $40 a square foot, which is about 13% less than the bids we received late last year for the buildings under construction in Middlesex as we speak. So based on the bids and certified bid tab, staff is recommending that commissioners approve the award of the contract to Smithson and authorize the county manager to execute the contract on behalf of Nash County. I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Questions of Mr. Boone on this item?
Just one. Looking directly at the property from Highway 97, where exactly will it be constructed?
This is on the the eastern limits of the property, so it'd be to your far left.
Okay, great. Kind of where the house was over there that we were.
Correct.
Thank you.
Other questions? Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Belfield. Questions on that motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries, and I'd just like to make one comment about Mr. Boone and his involvement in bidding these shell buildings like this. We do it in-house with a design-build method, and I guarantee you it's saving us a good 20% the way we go about this, and I appreciate the work your department does and how y'all do that. It's a little unorthodox. Most counties, municipalities do not do it that way, but by doing it, I know we're saving a tremendous amount of funds, and the expertise that your department has developed is really showing up in some of the bidding processes that we do. That's all I'm going to say about it, but thank you.
Glad to help. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Mr. Belfield?
I'm just going to ask this question. All the shell buildings, are they basically designed with the same type of material like steel?
Yes, sir. Again, this will be the textured metal panels, insulated panels, just like we've used on, the first building in Middlesex, and now we're building the second building. We did include a bid alternate for concrete panels, but we decided based on the cost and based on the anticipated uses after consulting with our economic development team, that the textured metal panels would meet our needs and would be the most cost-effective approach for this next shell building.
So basically, those that we've done in Nash County are all from about the same design?
Certainly the last 3, if we include this one. The county has some experience with the precast tilt-up panels in Whitaker's Business Industry Park. But the last 3 buildings that we've awarded, if we award this contract, will be similar construction.
I know they are not complete. You kind of leave it for whoever decide that they want to buy it and locate industry there. Do you ever talk with potential companies that may think about locating there as to what type of design they want, material?
We really rely on our economic development team to have those conversations and in turn inform the process based on the bids we receive. But Andy and Susan and their staff will be having those conversations.
Okay.
Other questions? All right. We did have the vote. And we're good with that item. We'll move on to item number 21, which is the NCDEQ 2022 Assessment Inventory and Assessment Grant Agreements. Mr. Boone?
Yes, sir, and that is not a typo. That is NCDQ 2022 Asset AIA Grant Awards, and we are here in May of 2023. But we received notice back in August of 2022 that we had been awarded 2 of the AIA grants. One would be for the Central Nash Water System, and the other would be for the Northern Nash Sewer System. Each of those grants were in the amount of $150,000. We just received the grant agreements back middle of last month. I believe it's the 13th was the official notification on those documents. And based on the offer of the grants and the need that we have to complete that work, to complete our base mapping work and also our assessment work for our utility system, we're recommending that the commissioners approve the grant award or grant agreement and authorize the county manager to sign the same on behalf of the county. We're also asking the county commissioners to approve the grant resolution that is required by the state in order to receive those funds. With that, I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Questions of Mr. Boone on this item? Entertain a motion for approval.
Move for approval.
Motion by Commissioner Leggett, second by Commissioner Outlaw. What?
I did not second.
I'm sorry.
But I would.
Who said that this way?
Okay.
Okay, excuse me, Commissioner Arrington. Seconded by Commissioner Arrington. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. That motion carries. We'll continue with item 22.
All right, and related to the grant award, after we received notice in August of 2022, we advertised an RFQ for engineering firms to assist us with those 2 projects. We had 2 firms respond, Matt Gay and Associates and the Wooten Company, and we assembled a small committee to review those submittals. Based on the submittals received, we are recommending that Matt Gay and Associates be awarded the contracts to perform the work in those 2 districts that I mentioned, again, Central Nash Water, Northern Nash Sewer. And we're requesting that the commissioners approve the county manager to sign those contracts on behalf of Nash County.
Questions on this item 22? See none, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Arrington, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Combs. Questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. Motion carries as well. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I have a request for a short recess, so I'm going to call for a recess at this time for about 10 minutes, and we will start back with item number 23, which is board appointments. Thank you. So I'll call on Assistant County Manager Scott Rogers at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have several items for your consideration. The first one being the Nash County Board of Adjustments. If you remember from last month, we had a vacancy from the expired term of Mr. Kenneth Mullen. Mr. Mullen declined an additional term, and we do have a recommendation from Commissioner Outlaw for Mr. Benton Moss to serve as his replacement. And if you'd like, I'd take these individually.
Yes, take them individually per board.
Okay. So first action I would ask you is to approve Mr. Benton Moss as a member of our Board of Adjustments.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw, is there a second? Second. Second by Commissioner Combs. Questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. That motion carries. Mr. Rogers?
Second item is the Nash County Planning Board. There is 3 seats expiring at the end of June, along with a vacancy from a resignation earlier in the year. Mr. Kevin Smith, who is currently serving as chairman, is ineligible for reappointment. Ms. Barbara Pulley has declined a reappointment, and Ms. Kim Moore is eligible, willing, and recommended for reappointment. In addition to that, Mr. Kevin Smith's seat we have received an application again from Commissioner Outlaw for Mr. Steve Williams as an appointment from District 5. With the expiring seats that we have and the current opening, if we reappoint Ms. Moore today, then that would leave a vacancy in District 2 and in District 7. One other item is, since the agenda has been published, I have received an additional application for Ms. Adrian Harris to take the place of Ms. Barbara Pulley, but Ms. Harris does also reside in District 5. So the first item of business here would be, if it's the pleasure of the board, to reappoint Ms. Kim Moore, and then an appointment for Mr. Steve Williams, and then the pleasure of the board as it relates to Ms. Harris.
All right, entertain a motion to reappoint Ms. Moore. I think she's in your district, Mr. Harrington.
All right. So move, we reappoint Ms. Moore.
Have a motion. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Belfield. Motion was made by Commissioner Harrington. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. That motion carries. Entertain a motion to appoint Mr. Steve Williams to the vacancy created by Kevin Smith not having another term to serve. Entertain that motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Steve Williams, is he retired?
Steve Williams is retired, yes, sir.
Move for approval of that appointment. Steve is retired from Hospira, now Pfizer. I worked with Steve for a number of years. He's a highly competent individual. I think he will certainly prove to be a great asset to the planning board.
Have a motion. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wilkins. Questions on the motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign. Motion carries as well. And tell us the circumstances with the other one again, please.
Okay, so upon the resignation of or the declinement of Ms. Pulley, who currently represents District 3, she made a recommendation of Ms. Adrian Harris, which is a resident of District 5.
Okay.
So if Ms. Adrian Harris was appointed to the board, that would still leave vacancies in District 2 and District 7, but there would only be one vacancy left, one seat left. Ms. Harris's application indicated interest in the planning board as well as the human services board and another, so we can certainly consider it for any number of those as vacancies come up vacant.
Did any commissioner bring that motion?
No, sir.
They did not, okay.
No, sir.
I think we would probably want to look, we should have quite a few of those that have asked to be appointed to the planning board, I think.
Okay.
But which seat is it which district is it that the person didn't want to be reappointed?
3.
Okay.
But we actually had 2 in District 3 to begin with. So as of right this moment, we have an opening in District 2 and District 7.
All right. District 7, I'm taking care of.
Okay.
I just didn't get the paperwork
Nope.
back in time to bring it today, but I will have that at the next meeting.
Okay, that's perfect.
Okay. All right.
I think just
Mr. Chairman.
a brief comment.
Yes.
It's kind of been our practice to present these applications in advance if
Sure.
we can.
You're right.
So we can all have an opportunity to
That's right.
review them. So I ask that be considered.
Right. You have a question, Mr. Belfield?
Yeah, I was going to ask Ms. Rogers, is there still a representative on the planning board from District 2? I know
sir.
we've had them on it. It is?
We not as of now. We have an opening now. Yes, sir.
You do have open? Well,
yes.
I'll work on filling it.
That'd be perfect. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Anything else on the board?
Yes, sir. The last item for your consideration is the Nash County Tourism Development Authority. We do have 4 members with terms expiring on the board. All of those are eligible for reappointment with the exception of Mr. Wayne Murphy. I do have an application for a replacement for Mr. Murphy. However, I have not been able to verify the willingness of each of these members for reappointment. My suggestion would be to take action on all 4 seats at next month's meeting, if that's acceptable to the board. Their bylaws do allow for them to serve until replaced, so there would not be any problem at the end of the month. But that would be my recommendation for TDA.
So you're saying not reappoint anyone today and take care of them at the next meeting?
That's my recommendation, but certainly I'd assume any way you'd like.
I don't have a problem with that. Any questions on that? Let's look at those appointments and let the board know, go down that list of what districts they're from. I know Mr. Belfield has one that's being reappointed.
I'm afraid I don't have the districts in front of me, Mr. Chairman.
If you name a name, I think I can tell you where
Okay,
they are.
Mr. Wayne Murphy, of course, is not eligible for reappointment.
And you have somebody that's been submitted for that one?
I do.
Okay.
Purcell Kelly.
He is in Mr. Belfield's district. That's the gentleman you put on a couple of years ago that is a school teacher.
Is what now?
That's the appointment that you made a couple of years ago that is a school teacher. I'm almost certain he lives in your district.
A school teacher,
Purcell
Board
Kelly.
of Adjustment, I remember putting a fellow on there, Oscar Bruce.
Right, now, we're not talking about that one.
But I don't remember putting one on the planning board.
No, this is TDA, Mr. Belfield.
Oh, TDA.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
TDA, that was your board appointment a couple of years ago. He is up for reappointment. We're going to verify that he wishes to continue to serve, if that's okay with you.
It's fine.
Okay. And who else?
Carol Rita.
Carol Rita, I do have a thought that she may have relocated outside the county, so we can certainly need to check with her.
Okay. And Melissa Clark.
And she definitely has relocated. No, she's fine.
Okay.
She can't be reappointed. I'm thinking about somebody else.
Okay.
And she is a collector, so I've got to find another collector for her, which means she's got to work for one of our hotels or own one of them. All right, we'll get that pulled together before next time.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
All right, it is now 11 o'clock, and we do have the Equalization and Board of Equalization and Review that we need to open up this time, and I'll call on Doris Sumner to start this process. And welcome, Judge Wilson. Glad to have you this morning.
All right, good morning again. Thank you. As Chairman Davis said, today is the first meeting of our Nash County Board of Equalization and Review. In compliance with North Carolina General Statute 105-322, the Nash County Board of Equalization and Review will meet to hear upon request any and all taxpayers who own or control taxable property assessed for taxation in Nash County with respect to the valuation of such property. And at that time, we would need the swearing in of the board.
You ready for that?
I'm ready for it, yes.
Judge Wilson, we'll turn it over to you, sir.
Good morning, folks.
Good morning.
It's good to be with you. Thank you for what you do for our county. Chairman Davis, I assume you would prefer that all of you be sworn at once. I'm happy to do that. I'm also happy to swear you individually if you would prefer.
If there are no objections from a board member, we'll do it all at once.
All at once.
All at once. You want us to stand, Judge?
Yes, sir. If you would all please stand and raise your right hand. And if you have a Bible, that's great. And if you don't, that's not necessary.
I think there's one at each place. Right up under there.
Okay. Commissioners, do you and each of you solemnly swear and affirm that you will support and maintain the Constitution and laws of the United States and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina, not inconsistent therewith, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of your office as a member of the Board of Equalization and Review of Nash County, North Carolina, and that you will not allow your actions as a member of the Board of Equalization and Review to be influenced by personal or political friendships or obligations, so help you God. If so, say, I do so swear.
I do so.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Again, thank you for everything you do for the county. This is one small but very important part of it, and we appreciate you.
Likewise.
All right.
Okay, at this time, Chairman Davis, the tax office does not have any appeals for the board's consideration today.
All right. No one here showed up either? Okay.
Okay?
All right. I would ask for a motion to recess this Board of Equalization and Review until June the 5th of 2023.
I offer motion to recess the Board of Equalization until June the 5th, 2023.
Have a motion. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Combs. Questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? That motion carries.
All right, thank you. Thank the board.
Now, this has nothing to do with reval. This is just current
Yes,
changes that we have.
that is correct.
Okay.
Mhm.
I'll call you later. I've got one guy that has contacted me a couple of times,
Okay,
real upset about something, but I'll discuss it with you later.
all
at a
right,
later
thank
date.
you. Mhm.
Okay, we'll move on back where we were, and I believe we are at commissioner comments, item number 24, and I'll call on any commissioner that has anything they wish to bring before the board at this time.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Belfield.
I was deeply disturbed to hear this morning about Senate bill to make school board districts coterminous with the county commissioners. I know we said something about it, but we never approved anything to be going to the legislator. And I'm just wondering, I don't think they did this on their own. They were asked to do it. And without proper input. And I just think that it need to be stopped and do it right.
Okay.
And, because I listed my opinion when I first heard it in our closed session, but we never made any decision that we were going to ask the legislature to act on. And so I would hope from now on that if we're going to ask the legislators to act any bill, local, or support anything statewide, that we would, as a board, will agree to do it, and not just one or two individuals.
I don't recall us having a discussion about this in closed session myself.
It was mentioned.
Okay, it may have been mentioned. I don't recall
Yeah, it
having
was
a
mentioned.
discussion.
But, and I said then that I didn't agree with coterminous lines for the school board and county commission.
Okay. All right. I would tell you that my involvement in it has been, I reminded the senator that we, in the former bill that we had, it had how to handle redistricting in that bill when it was first proposed. That was the bill some 5 years ago. Somewhere between when we saw the bill and when the bill was adopted, they removed the part out about redistricting. They took it from 11 members to 9 members and told you exactly how to do it by precinct. That got removed, I don't know how. I just reminded them that now, since Edgecombe had chosen, or looked like they were choosing to take their children back, that they needed to relook at that bill and see what we were to do about redistricting. The next time I saw the bill, it had already been written, and it was, this bill's 248. I've had no discussion with any member of the House or the Senate about the bill until I saw the bill show up. Now, I have researched quite a bit since that point, just to see how it looked as it relates to other counties in the state of North Carolina, and how, if it looked odd or anything, and I'll be glad to share that research with you, if you like. But other than that, that's been my personal involvement in it.
Yeah, well, I just think that it's something
And I understand that.
important. Even the school board and school system should have had some input in this. And apparently, they didn't.
They did not, I don't think, nor did we.
No.
Other comments under Commissioner comments?
Mr. Chairman, I just have something right quick. The Gateway Technology Center board met April 18th and elected officers, Norris Tolson, President, and Treasurer Cindy Edwards, Keith Rogers, the new city manager for Rocky Mount, Vice President, and yours truly sits here as Secretary. Also, Jennifer Baisden came off the board. She was at ECU, and Dr. Alan Guidry, Guidrey, is taking her place, and they're still in need or searching for a building manager. So if anyone knows anyone, maintenance or can do building management, we've been searching for a long time. Please let me know.
And of course, what Commissioner Wilkins is speaking of is the building that sits out in front of Wesleyan College. There is a board that handles that building entirely, and that's what the board that you serve on. It has nothing to do with economic development. It's just that building itself. It gets confusing sometimes, reading. I want to point that out.
Okay.
When you say building manager, are you speaking of someone to do maintenance work in the building?
Yes, to handle the building. Yeah, they have a security person, and new security measures are being put in place. And, but yeah, they need a building manager, I guess, to oversee this cleaning.
Well, at one time, due to the extensive use of the building by Wesleyan, their building management department did stuff in there. Has that ceased?
We don't have one,
Okay.
so I believe it
Okay.
has.
Okay, all right. But they do still use the building for classroom space quite a bit, I think.
Well, I'm sure they have someone there that goes and cleans, but no manager to oversee the whole building.
Okay, all right. Other commissioners report? Commissioner Leggett?
This morning, my comments are directed towards our local Department of Transportation. I wanted to call to their attention the large number of roadside ditches along our county roads that need to be cleaned out. As we have new construction in the county, a lot of times there's, new driveways put in. Sometimes these are done in such a fashion that it changes the flow of water. Y'all know we've had a lot of rain lately, and we had a really big storm come through yesterday afternoon. I had a lot of phone calls with citizen concerns specifically over roadway flooding, driveways being inundated and flooded, and water that had previously not flowed onto their property is now doing so. So again, two specific issues that are contributing to some of this new flooding, new construction that's changed the flow of water, and ditches that have not been cleaned out in a very long time, which are now non-existent and creating hazards in our county. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments?
I'd like to echo part of what Ms. Leggett said, that with the recent amount of rain that we received, we have a lot of flooding across different roads in the county, especially on the northern end. And as I remember a long time ago, to the transportation department, somebody used to come by periodically and clean out the drain pipes along most of the highways to make sure that everything flows. See, that stopped somewhere along the line. I don't know why, and that's one of the reasons why we have these clogs and flooding. I don't know what we can do other than request that they, some kind of way, if it's the General Assembly, whoever that can request funds that go back into at least our rural areas to make sure that drain ditch along our roadways are clear so that we can avoid flooding and less accidents because of flooding across the highway. And my other comment is about the proposed Senate bill about redistricting for the Nash County Board of Education. And it's like Mr. Belfield, my ears have heard that, yes, Mr. Chairman, that you kind of supported those amendments of a 7-member school board that mirrors the district lines of the county commissioner. And I am opposed to that, and I think that it should be left to the Board of Education to decide on their redistricting process, and if there's a time that the Board of Education cannot reach a compromise of their process, then maybe that's when the General Assembly should step in, but not at this time. And I don't support that action. I think that it was premature for our state Senator Lisa Barnes to introduce that bill, and I hope that she will withdraw it and give the local Board of Education an opportunity to follow a process that would be fair to the citizens that the school board members represent.
Thank you. Commissioner Harrison, other comments?
I got several items I want to mention.
Yes, sir.
First, in relation to water and drainage, it's been my experience as a member of the Rural Transportation Advisory Committee that anytime I reach out to the DOT with a request to go look at a specific issue and try to address it, that they've been very responsive to that. I won't name the individuals that I deal with individually, but you can do that. I can give you that name. I think one good example would be up in your area, Commissioner Arrington, where some years back, couple of years back, year or so back, a good deal of money was spent up there to clear up an issue in that area. So I found the DOT to be very responsive. But the problem is we've had a lot of rain in a short period of time, so you're going to have some issues that the DOT is not going to be able to correct. But I can give you that name, or if you'll give me the specific areas that you are talking about, then I'd be glad to share that information with the DOT. Second thing I want to mention was our inside and outside presentations for May. Ms. Manager, I think we've got Wesleyan set up for the outside presentation. I'm sorry, the hospital board. Dr. Isley's coming in, and I think the inside we've got Cole Strickland with soil and water. Now, we've got another mid-month schedule for June the 19th. I don't know if we want to dedicate that to budget, or we want to go ahead and plan for some inside-outside presentations. What's the pleasure of the board? Will we need that time?
I'd like to hear from the manager what she thinks.
Well, I would hope that it would be a smooth process for adopting the budget, but I'm not sure that we do generally have the outside and inside presentations at that meeting. So if we can just leave it to the budget, that'll be fine.
Okay, we've got it on our agenda for 1:30 on June the 19th, so if we can dedicate that to budget, I think that might be the best situation, because I don't know about others, but I'm going out of town soon after that.
Okay.
So I'll be gone for a good part of the month after the 19th.
Okay.
So the 19th would be for budget. Okay.
Sounds good.
Third thing I want to mention was, I want to give a shout out to North Nash Community College, 2023 Skills USA Excellence Award winner. Nash Community College has been named one of the nation's model of excellence for 2023, the highest and most competitive recognition for excellence in competitions and curriculum from Skills USA. They are one of only 24 schools across the country, and the only one in North Carolina to receive this recognition. They will compete against other schools in the workplace skills category for the coveted #1 school in the nation. This competition takes place at the National Leadership and Skills Conference this June in Atlanta. So congratulations to Nash Community College and the good work that they're doing out there. Also, I want to give a shout out to Coach John Brackett, North Carolina Wesleyan University. I'm sure many of you, if not all of you, know Coach Brackett. Sharon and I, my wife, we had recently attended 2 softball games at the school. The Bishops won both games. With the second win, Coach Brackett had his 600th career softball win at Wesleyan. Coach Brackett is a member of the 2014 North Carolina Wesleyan Hall of Fame. He's the all-time winningest coach at school, compiling an overall record of nearly 800 wins in both women's softball and basketball. This has led him to being named as the USO Coach of the Year multiple times. Congratulations to Coach Brackett, the women's softball and basketball teams, and continued success in the future. I'm very proud of North Carolina Wesleyan and the things that they accomplished, not only in their athletic program, but more importantly, in their educational programs. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Outlaw.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I was just going to follow up on what Commissioner Outlaw said about Nash Community College. They have been, and I was out there, I think last week, and we're looking at the plaques that they have. In the past 5 years, they've been in the top 3, and also been #1 community college, and especially #1 in the state of North Carolina, and they're recognized highly on the national level.
Good, thank you, sir. Others wish to speak? Commissioner Wilson?
No one else. I did have one other thing I completely forgot, and this should have been foremost. I do want to congratulate Brent Fisher, the Assistant Emergency, Nash County Emergency Services Director, for being appointed by Governor Cooper to the North Carolina Emergency Response Commission. Well done.
Thank you. Amen. Others? Well, I was going to give my housing report for the month, but I'm almost scared to, maybe Ms. Leggett won't get on me too bad. I'm kidding with you there. I do this each month. We did have a very busy month in April, in that we had 52 new home permits issued, which is not the highest month we had, but it has come back up from the last couple of months, and it was by 17 builders, which is a smaller percentage-wise. We did have 2 builders that pulled quite a few permits, and they were in some of the new subdivisions. One of them in mine and Mr. Arrington's district, and then one of them down in the southern part of the county in Mr. Combs' district. We did have right at $1 million of commercial permits pulled as well, so we did have a very busy month down in inspections. As it relates to the DOT, I had several calls also, Commissioner Leggett, about flooding roadways in my district. One of the pictures I saw was over on Old Carriage, and it was a terrible situation there. And it's, I think, just due to probably not having adequate funding for DOT to do ongoing maintenance on roadside ditches, and they probably just address it on as call needed, whereas they used to have people in place, and hopefully we'll get funding back in place, Commissioner Outlaw, to do that moving forward. But there was quite a bit of flooding, but we did indeed have quite a bit of rain over the weekend in a very short period of time. So with that said, and then I had a couple of calls on a road up in your district, Commissioner Arrington, that I went up and looked at, and I'm not going to be able to pull up the road, but it's the road you use to get through the bypass where the bridge is out. It starts with an A, Abigail or something similar to that, but it has just come all to pieces because it's been used as a haul road to build those interchanges up there. I did talk to our local DOT engineer on Friday about that, and he assured me that they were on it, that they were trying to decide if the DOT was going to fix it or if the contractor was going to fix it, but hopefully it's something be improved on that pretty soon. To your comment, Commissioner Arrington, I have stated that I didn't have anything to do with that bill. I would restate that I didn't have anything to do with it. I do get accused for a lot of things I don't do, and that's quite all right. But I will tell you that I do, after studying and doing my research, do support the bill. I think it would be the right thing for the county to do, to go to 7 districts. And once I give you the research on what I found throughout the state, I think you would be more than 10 to agree that the 7 members is really what we should have with the number of students that we have. And to me, I always look at economics. If they were to align with the commissioners' districts, it would save quite a bit of money because it would be all done at one time. And the other thing about it, it would cut out a lot of confusion because, as we know, many people don't know who their school board members are, and many people don't know who their commissioners are. But if they were aligned, and they certainly don't have to be aligned, I do think 7 is the correct number, but we'll leave that up to the General Assembly. But if they were aligned, I think it would make it simpler for people to understand who and their school board member is, as well as their commissioners. But that's a discussion we can have. It's not something that we're going to take action on because it is in the General Assembly. We can tell them how we feel about it, certainly, but it was started by them, and whatever they choose to do with it, we'll just wait and see how they do it. It may not ever come back up, I'm not sure, but certainly we've got to do some redistricting of some kind before 2024 because the districts, we won't have representation. We will have members that do not have the people or the section that they representing them anymore if it follows the path it's on currently. And it may well not do that either. Nobody knows. We're kind of in a gray area. But with that said, I will turn it over to the manager for her report.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
For the co-responder program for April, there were 16 DSS referrals and 5 sheriff's office referrals. I don't have any data for the Rocky Mount Police Department, but do know that that program is now working with the police department in Rocky Mount as well. And tonight, Congressman Don Davis will host a Farm Bill listening session at the Agriculture Center in Nashville at 7 p.m. to hear directly from the agriculture community about their priorities as the 2023 Farm Bill negotiations continue. A reminder that we will host our annual joint school board and community college meeting on Monday, May the 8th at 6 p.m. at the Agriculture Center. Dinner will be served at 5:30 and the meeting will start at 6. On May 11th, the Soil and Water Conservation District's annual Catfish Luncheon will be at noon at the Agriculture Center. To Commissioner Wilkins' comments, congratulating our Brent Fisher. I did want to recognize him in his appointment by the governor, and also the community college and their Skills USA partnership. And a reminder that we will have a second meeting in May, on May the 22nd, and as Commissioner Outlaw said, we will have Dr. Isley from UNC Nash Hospitals to provide the board with an update, as well as Cole Strickland with our Soil and Water Conservation District. And at that meeting, I will also be presenting to the board a recommended budget. You all will probably be hearing from me individually on some items that you've shared with me that are important with you between now and that meeting. And also a reminder about a holiday. On Monday, May the 29th, county offices will be closed in recognition of Memorial Day. And if we could, we need to have the board decide who will be their voting delegate at the NACO conference. And Chairman Davis, I believe you're the only one in attendance this year. Is that correct?
I'm not sure. I do
Is that
intend.
correct?
I
You-
do
Chairman
intend
Davis,
to
you are
attend.
the only one in attendance this
Okay,
year.
all right. If the board sees fit, I'll be glad to serve as the voting member.
Well, if we're gonna have a commissioner there, then that commissioner ought to be our voting delegate.
Do we take any action on that? How do we normally do that?
You generally do a nomination and a second and vote on it.
All right, I'd entertain a motion to appoint a commissioner to be the voting delegate at the NACO meeting that's been held in Austin, Texas this year.
Make a motion, we appoint Chairman Davis.
Have a motion on the floor, is there a second?
I second.
Had several seconds, and I appreciate that. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? That motion does carry.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And then the last item that I have is a statement from our Human Services Board. On April 20th, 2023, at the regularly scheduled Human Services Board meeting, board members wanted to communicate to the Board of Commissioners their appreciation for the manner in which they handled the very sad 8-year-old fatality case in regards to DSS. After considerable discussion involving their gratitude to the Board of Commissioners, a motion was made and seconded, and with unanimous approval for this statement of appreciation. I am thereby submitting this statement of appreciation to the county manager to be relayed to our commissioners. Submitted by Bill Hill, Health and Human Services Director, dated 4/28/23. I wanted to share that with you all, and that's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am, for your tell Mr. Hill to let his board know it is greatly appreciated that they took the action to do that. Thank you.
Will do.
All right, next item on the agenda is a closed session. The closed session is for economic development matters and matters of attorney-client privileges. And after that, we will come back out in this commissioner room to adjourn. Actually, we will be recessing until our May 8th meeting that the manager just mentioned next Monday, our joint school board and community college board as well. That would be our normal budget session that we have. So at this time, I'd entertain a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wilkins, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Outlaw. Questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. I'll call us back into regular session at this time. We did have a closed session. There was no action taken in closed session that needs to be brought before the board in an open session. So therefore, I would entertain a motion at this time to request to recess the Nash County Commissioner meeting from May the 1st until May the 8th at 6 p.m. would be at the Ag Center and be for the purpose of a joint school board and Nash County Community College budget session. So I call for that motion to recess.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wilkins. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Outlaw. Questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? We stand recessed until that time. Thank you.